In this video, we leave New York City to spend the perfect weekend at the eastern edge of New York in Montauk. Known as one of the best fishing spots in the world, Montauk is a beautiful stretch of coast with a famous lighthouse and amazing sunrises. Along the 3-hour journey, we'll show you many places to stop to make the most of your weekend adventure. Alright, let's jump in. Our first stop was about an hour and 15 minutes outside of the city at the Long Island Welcome Center. Here you can get lots of information about places to visit in Long Island, see a map to realize how big it is, and of course climb on the whales that are sitting outside.
Oh, here we go to Long Island. Oh no, there's a whale in front, and the whale has a little girl on it.
Before leaving, check out the Long Island Walk of Fame, which showcases many of the famous residents who have lived in Long Island. From there is about 45 minutes to our next stop at the Long Island Aquarium, and do note that everything takes a lot longer to drive to than you'd expect. While New York's most visited aquarium is in the city in Coney Island, this one opened in 1999 and has become very popular for families and those exploring the Long Island area.
Guys, who's in there?
Nemo.
Wow.
The aquarium's pretty small and it only takes a couple hours to fully visit. However, what it lacks in size, it makes up for in amazing exhibits. The tanks that house the fish are so detailed and well laid out, and it supposedly has over 1 million gallons of water.
I think I call that one zebra because it has stripes.
After exploring the interior, we started to make our way outside to wait for the sea lion show.
Oh wow, great picture, Sunny.
So cool, babe.
Wow.
The highlight out here was the 20-minute sea lion show, which was included in the price of admission and which brought out basically everybody who was in the aquarium to see it. My kids loved seeing the sea lions, and it was definitely one of the highlights of the weekend for them. Back inside, we had 2 more things to do before leaving, and the first was touching the stingrays. You could just pet them if you wanted to, or you could spend a couple bucks to get food and feed them. The last thing we wanted to do was to go into the butterfly exhibit. And even though my kids were hoping one would land on them, it was still amazing to just walk around and to see them interacting with each other and eating the different fruit.
That's actually a pretty small aquarium, but the kids had an absolute blast seeing the butterflies, the stingrays, the seal show. Do note though, it is pretty expensive if you come with the whole family. Now we're heading on to more Long Island.
Leaving the aquarium, it was only an 8-minute drive to our next stop, the Big Duck of Long Island. The Big Duck was originally built in 1931 by a farmer who was looking to sell ducks and duck eggs. It's been moved around Long Island many times over the years, and it's now located in Flanders. It's an amazing and historic roadside attraction, and you know I love seeing these whenever I can. If you visit when it's open, you can go in, see lots of historic photos, and even pick up a duck souvenir if you're interested.
Oh, we're gonna regret that pretty soon.
Why did we say yes?
The duck is 18 feet wide, 30 feet long, and 20 feet to the top of the head. And the duck's eyes were originally made from Model T taillights. If you're driving through Long Island, definitely stop and see it. We spent a lot longer at the aquarium than I anticipated, and we wanted to make sure we got to the lighthouse before it closed, so we grabbed a quick lunch at Goldbergs and then drove all the way out to Montauk Point. Do note that if you're coming out here on a busy weekend, traffic slows to a crawl in many of the small cities along the way. An hour and a half after leaving the Big Duck, we finally arrived at Montauk Point State Park.
We made it to a windy Montauk Point lighthouse.
After paying our fee to enter the state park, we walked up to the lighthouse, took in the coastal views, and then began to explore. We had about 45 minutes before they closed, so we walked through the museum, which told us about the shipwrecks and about the lightkeepers that lived in the area. It was especially cool to see the map that showed all the different lighthouses along Long Island.
Where are we at? We're right here, this is the lighthouse. All the way out on the point. We drove so far, huh buddy?
The house is way over here.
It is, but that's true. That's so cool.
The kids were too small, so they weren't allowed to climb the spiral staircase all the way to the top of the lighthouse. Because of that, Amy and I just took turns, and so I walked them through the museum while she went up, and then she walked them through the museum while I went up.
You know what I like to do? I like to dip my bacon and syrup so that it's sweet and salty.
Super relevant to what we're talking about, but I agree.
When Amy came back down, she took the kids to run on the grassy hill, and then I went up to the top of the lighthouse. Once I saw the spiral staircase, I was glad that they didn't allow kids because it would have been a little bit challenging to get them up there safely. The stairs are very steep and you have to make sure you can go around people as they're coming down and you're coming up. Once you make it to the top, it's pretty incredible though, as you can look through and see the actual lens going around, and you get amazing views out along the coastline. It was incredibly windy for us, but it really is hard to believe how beautiful this part of Long Island is. If there's someone manning the top while you're there, they may allow you to walk up a couple stairs and even see the light up close.
In the top of the lighthouse, this is cool.
A few facts about the lighthouse: it was actually commissioned by President George Washington in the late 1700s. It was the first lighthouse built in New York and one of the oldest in the nation. After leaving the lighthouse, we explored a few of the coastal bluff trails to get some different views, and then we headed on towards dinner. Amy was really in the mood for a lobster roll, so we headed out towards Sunset Beach near where we were staying to Gosemans Clam Bar.
We're all dignified. We got lobster rolls out here for Amy and I. And you got a hot dog. What'd you get, Sunny?
I got grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese, and look at that view. How do you beat it? They only have cold lobster rolls here, which are, I prefer warm, but I like either of them.
It is still lobster. Still fresh and buttery.
Yeah.
Red,
Cheers.
white, blue. American colors.
It's a good sandwich, and we know America's colors.
This was certainly a pricey spot for dinner. I think it was about $35 for the lobster rolls, but it was pretty hard to beat the view. I wasn't very familiar with this area, but we booked a hotel about 2 minutes away called the Sunset Montauk. This isn't sponsored or anything, but it was a nice hotel, friendly people, and it was a great spot for us to stay for one night at least. After the kids went to bed, I decided to head out for sunset, and I researched the best sunset spot in Long Island and came up with Montauket. This is a restaurant and bar that looks out towards the west and has amazing views of the sun setting over the water. I've seen a lot of good sunsets in California, but this one was pretty special because there were so many people that were watching the sunset with me. It almost felt like I was back in the Florida Keys just hanging out and watching the sun go down. That's it for our first day on Long Island. More tomorrow.
Starting our morning with Goldbergs, the only thing that's open with the children in the morning.
I was surprised there were so few options open, but we were about 10 minutes north of downtown Montauk, which had a few more spots you could go to. This worked fine for us though, as it had all the normal breakfast items and it was easy for everybody to find something that they liked.
That's good jam.
Oh, good jam. All right, I'm glad. Jack, where are we going right now?
Strawberry.
We're not picking strawberries yet. What are we doing first?
Go to
The beach, yeah.
Sunset Beach sits right on the inlet between Lake Montauk and the Atlantic Ocean. There's parking for about 10 cars right next to the beach, and it wasn't even remotely busy when we were there. My kids are very much in the throwing rocks and exploring phase, so we just wandered around, looked at all the shells, and enjoyed the beautiful weather.
Saying goodbye to Montauk, and we're heading back towards New York City with a bunch of stops along the way.
After hanging out at the beach for about an hour and a half, we headed into town to go to Bluestone Lane Coffee, where they make some interesting drinks like a coconut water cold brew before starting our drive back to New York City. Just remember, it's about 125 miles back to the city, and it can easily take 3 to 4 hours depending on traffic. Amy was trying to take advantage of our closeness to Boston and wanted another lobster roll, so we went to Shinnecock Lobster Company.
So we are seeing who can look the most like the lobster. There's the lobster. Sonny, you look pretty close to the lobster. Jack, let me see. Oh, pretty close to the lobster. I don't know. Sonny or Jack, which one did it better? Hampton whale for Amy?
I don't mind being a Hampton whale. You want to see this?
What's that?
Oh yeah!
And I got the Cajun whale.
I'm a chicken lobster.
What are you, Sonny?
I'm a French fry.
You're a French fry, okay.
I'm a French
I'm glad we're not spending a lot of time here because these lobster rolls are expensive and that's what Amy wants to eat. That was a good spot for a lobster roll. Very generous amount of lobster, especially considering what we had yesterday. But definitely go for the way that Amy did it. Just the straight butter. That's the best. I don't know why I ever changed. It's my favorite, but tried something new today. Straight butter is the best.
We only had 2 more stops before driving back, and the first was at the Ice Cream Cottage about 30 minutes away. It had come highly recommended to us for the frozen yogurt, and I have to say, it was pretty incredible.
I give this ice cream 10 out of 10. What do you say?
I give ice cream a 10 out of 10. And I give it a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Some of the best frozen yogurt I've ever had.
It was really awesome.
Our last stop of the day was to head over to Glover Farms, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly. Farms like this are an important part of Long Island's history, and so we wanted to make sure we went to one before we finished our trip.
Last order of business on our Long Island trip, we went to a local farm and we are picking strawberries.
My kids love fruit, and they had picked strawberries once before, so they were really excited to do it again.
And a strawberry country. Oh, wow. Lots of good strawberries here. Guys, I found a good spot. Wow. It's the goodest one of all time.
That is a really good one, buddy.
Plus, they eat so much fruit that they could probably finish this entire bucket in one sitting. After we finished filling our bucket and exploring a little bit, we made our way over to greet a few of the goats before starting our long drive back to Brooklyn.
That's it for our trip to Long Island. Hopefully you enjoyed exploring with us. We'll see you on the next one.